What's up, everybody? Supra fan here for another weekly update, and I'm in the Mustang this week, even though I do have a new press car this week, the 2016 Jeep Cherokee Latitude 75th Anniversary Edition, which isn't exactly my cup of tea, and that's simply because, one, it's an SUV, two, it's a Jeepy SUV, so it's not even like a car type one, and it's just not very fun to drive, at least not for me. You know, they're great cars. I have a friend that has one that very much enjoys it, just not for me, and so I've been driving a decent amount. It's great for whenever you gotta move people around, but you know, when I'm just going out for an enjoyable little drive like today, I want to be in the Mustang because I still absolutely adore this thing, even though I saw a Shelby in the exact configuration that I would want yesterday, and that was very tempting. But honestly, I'm so content with this, and the Shelby is so much more expensive that the difference, you know, I still don't know if I personally can justify it, and so I just love this thing, and I'm just going to keep driving it and enjoying it. And I actually have some good news. Well, speaking of the driving and enjoying part, first, I do want to mention that I've almost at 2,100 miles here, 2,096 miles as I'm speaking currently, and so yeah, just rolling them on, still loving every minute of it. Yeah, I did a little road trip last weekend, and that was great. I've been consistently getting 27 miles per gallon on the highway in this, which is better than I was expecting. There's another Mustang. That sounds awesome too. Anyway, so I've been getting 27 miles per gallon on the highway consistently, and on the way up, I drove to Cleveland and back from Pittsburgh. I actually got 29 miles per gallon before I hit traffic, and that brought the average down. So I was actually getting 29 miles per gallon in a V8 sports car on the highway, which is pretty good for something that's only 6 speeds. You know, I think the new Corvettes can do a little bit better than that and stuff, but they're lighter, 7-speed or 8-speed if you get the automatic and stuff. So I'm really impressed. And I mean, like I said, I was getting on the highway between 30 and 34 in the EcoBoost if I really babied it. So this isn't really that far off. And I'm going to do a video because the longer I own the GT, the less expensive it becomes. As far as the GT, you know, originally I was like, you know, whenever I used to have the EcoBoost, I thought the GT was so much more expensive as far as operating costs go, because not only is it more expensive on price, but insurance and gas and all that kind of stuff. But all those kind of issues are kind of slowly melting away, and I'm like, wait a minute, the fuel economy actually isn't that much worse. And I'm going to do a separate video on insurance costs, but insurance costs aren't that much worse either. So if you can pony up the extra money, it really isn't that much more expensive to own a GT. Actually, it's hardly more expensive to own a GT. And so like I said, I'll get more in depth with the insurance costs in a separate little video here I'll be doing briefly. I'll be uploading this weekend. But yeah, really just loving the ownership experience here of the GT still. It's just phenomenal. And so the other good news about the GT that I have to report on is that I officially am getting the check from the insurance company of the person that hit me, and I'm finally getting the settlement for diminished value. So of course, the body shop, as you all know, did a wonderful and beautiful job here to restore the condition of the vehicle, but diminished value is basically saying that the insurance company's obligation is to make me whole. Now, they made my car whole, and they made the condition of the car whole, but they didn't restore the car to its original value. So the car, if it hadn't been hit, you know, would maybe be worth around $34,000, and they did a diminished value report, which was done by, you know, an expert independent of the insurance company, who says that now, because it's been hit, the car is probably worth about $28,000. So that difference of about $6,000 is what I was asking for from the insurance company, so that I can pay down my loan, so that I'm not, you know, if I go to trade this in, you know, down the road, that I'm not, you know, $8,000 upside down on a loan and trying to fix that all because I was hit by someone and it wasn't my fault. So that is the point of the diminished value, and they have awarded me the entire diminished value amount that I was seeking. That includes my deductible and the cost of getting the report done for the diminished value and everything. So that's awesome, because that means, you know, I'm not in any worse financial shape as I was before the accident as well. In addition to the car driving like new now, I don't have, you know, any sufferings as far as financial things go as well. So that is awesome, and I'm so excited that I was able to get that. The only other Mustang thing is I'm starting to consider an exhaust, possibly. Now, I still love the sound of this stock, but a mild exhaust definitely wouldn't hurt. I need to hear them in person. I'm really considering like the Borla Touring is basically the only thing I'm considering, because it has an H-pipe resonator, which I still want to retain to give you that typical muscle car sound. I don't want to go X-pipe because that's a little too raspy for my personal preference, and I want to do the Touring because that way it's still quiet. I don't want anything that drives on the highway or gives me a headache like the EcoBoost did or like the BRZ did. Both of those cars gave me so many headaches with those loud exhausts, and so I want to do something milder, but I still am not decided. It might not be till next year, but for those that, were worried I wasn't going to do an exhaust, I may come around eventually. Just have patience with me. But anyway, that's it for all the updates on the Mustang here, so I'll send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, for this week's news, the first thing is a very exciting thing. That is that the Toyota Supra, the new one, was spied out testing for the first time. Now, the Supra name isn't confirmed yet, but it's most likely going to be called the Supra, and it's the new sports car developed jointly with Toyota and BMW. BMW gets the Z5, and Toyota gets the new Supra. And so we see it here for the first time, looking really awesome. Now, it does have what looks to be like fake headlights and taillights, so don't bank too much on those headlights or taillights. They're definitely not going to make it to the final version. But what you do see here is a really cool looking car. Now, some people thought that this might be like a new FRS or something like that, a new BRZ variant kind of deal. But the shape is somewhat similar, but it's definitely, all the sources are pointing to this being much higher performance. Look at the big brakes, the aggressive wheel setup, and it's going to be one heck of a car, I think. Although it looks a little bit smaller than some people were expecting, and that makes sense as well. But honestly, even with the camouflage and stuff and these fake headlights and taillights, it kind of looks like a Supra. The front end especially looks a lot like a Mark IV in a lot of ways with the shape and curves and stuff. And with a camo, it's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see a line running from the front fender, and it goes through the door there into the rear quarter panel, and that's nicely camouflaged there. But just some cool little design things that are probably going to be taken from the FT1. Obviously, this is a far cry from the crazy FT1 concept we saw back in 2014, but still looks awesome nonetheless. And then you even get a few shots of the interior here, which you can see has a BMW steering wheel, BMW switchgear, and also a gear shifter and things like that. Although it does look like there's some Toyota parts in there as well. But, this should come as no surprise because the car is jointly developed between the two companies. The Supra BRZ got some interior bits from the Toyota version. And then, even with the Fiat 124 and the Miata collaboration, the Fiat got the Miata interior essentially. Even though the exterior was completely different. Things like that are probably going to be shared. Just because it has a BMW steering wheel doesn't mean this is the BMW version. We've already seen the BMW version. It looks completely different. It's a convertible. This is going to be, strictly hardtop, and should have a different engine as well as the BMW, because the BMW is probably going to have a range of 4 to 6 cylinder turbocharged engines like you see in any of the other BMWs these days. This, though, they're saying could have Lexus's new twin-turbo V6, which would, go along with the Supra mentality a lot better, I think, than, some of the BMW motors. Either way, it looks amazing. They're saying this could be a 2019 model year car, which means we'll be seeing the final version in 2018 sometime. Maybe it'll debut next year on the auto show circuit somewhere. Regardless, it's just really exciting. It looks like it's really coming along nicely and shouldn't have too much more longer to develop here. So very exciting to see that. Another thing that was spied, and it looks even more close to production, is the new Honda Civic Type R. Now, this looks like it's actually the US version. It has the US headlights here that you can see on some of the higher-end Civics that are currently out. Of course, it's the 5-door hatchback. It still has that large wing in the back, but it looks really aggressive. We can see the front bumper really well now. It looks really awesome, and even has a little hood scoop slit there, it looks like, up at the top, which is a new detail that some of the previous Type R concepts and whatnot haven't had. So that's a cool new detail. Otherwise, though, it's still just rumors as far as when we're going to see this. They're saying it should go on sale next year, so we could be seeing it as soon as this fall, or the Detroit Auto Show in this winter. Who knows? But exciting to see that nonetheless. The rumors are all over the place as far as how much power it's going to have, but they're saying that the 2-liter turbocharged engine that is probably going to be running could run up to 340 horsepower. So we'll have to wait and see. If they want to compete with the Focus RS, they probably should do that much, but Honda is usually a little bit lower, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens with all of that. Another exciting news story, lots of really crazy stuff that came out this week, is that there's a report that, now this isn't confirmed, but there's a report that Dodge is going to be doing an all-wheel drive Challenger model. And now the reports are conflicted about what engines will be getting the all-wheel drive. Some people are saying it's only going to be on the V6 version, which would be kind of underwhelming. Other people are saying that it's going to be just like the Challenger GT all-wheel drive concept that we saw at SEMA last year, which would have the V8, and that it would actually, the production version is going to be supposedly called the Challenger GT all-wheel drive, and it would be 2 doors, all-wheel drive, amazing. But the best thing is it's rumored that this will spawn a Hellcat all-wheel drive version called the Challenger ADR. Would have the Challenger engine, all-wheel drive, wide body, flared fenders to fit that all-wheel drive platform, and would be an absolute monster. Now we know that, with the Jeep Cherokee Trackhawk that's coming out relatively soon, hopefully here, which is going to have the Hellcat engine and all-wheel drive in the Jeep, we know that the Hellcat engine works with an all-wheel drive layout, so this isn't a stretch of the imagination. Putting it in a Challenger is a pretty wild thing considering it's a muscle car and everyone wants it to be rear-wheel drive, but there's rumors that the Mustang is also going to have an all-wheel drive GT500 that's going to be their Halo version as well. So we could be seeing these muscle cars going to all-wheel drive for the highest performing models at some point. So pretty great news, especially for those that live in the snowbelt states and usually aren't able to have cars like this as a daily driver. So really exciting to hear that. A bunch of other news about Fiat Chrysler stuff that also came out at the same time with this Challenger report is that there will be a completely redesigned new Challenger going to be on a new platform. It's going to be based on the new Alfa Romeo Giulia platform, actually, and that'll be the underpinnings for the next-gen Challenger, which is coming out in 2018, supposedly, which isn't too far away. That may get pushed back a year or two. Other things we've been hearing is that they're also going to redesign the Charger, and that's going to be on the same platform as well. Again, they're going to share the same platform. And also that there could be a new 2-door convertible. We've been hearing about this car for years now. I don't know when they're going to finally actually make it, but there's always been rumors about a 2-door convertible called the Barracuda, that they'll be bringing back the Barracuda name. They would probably use some more futuristic engine options, Turbo 4s, Turbo 6s, and getting away from the muscle car thing a bit. Who knows when that's coming, but this report is now saying that could come in 2021. And they also are saying that the Dodge Durango is going to get an SRT model as well, which is going to have the 6.4-liter V8. Other things that they're saying for the Fiat Chrysler brand here is that there's going to be a debut of a new full-size crossover for Chrysler in 2018, along with a mid-size crossover in 2019. The Jeep Compass and Wrangler are supposed to be getting a redesign for 2017, and then the Cherokee is going to be getting a light makeover as well. More on that in a second. And then they're also going to do a Wrangler-based pickup truck that was Spied testing recently, and also a Wagoneer, which is a large, probably based on that same Chrysler large crossover that Jeep's going to get as well. So lots of news there. Hopefully all this stuff actually comes out when it's supposed to. As I could kind of go along with this report, I actually had a viewer who sent me footage. He was out in Nevada for work and happened to see this new lightly made over Cherokee running around. And so Mod Motor Yates is his Instagram username, and his YouTube channel is in the description below. Check it out. A huge thanks to him for sending this stuff in. If anyone else ever sees any kind of cool stuff that they see running around with the camouflage on and stuff, definitely send it over and I'll be sure to feature it here in the news. Anyway, so he filmed this Cherokee just driving around getting gas and stuff, and the front doesn't even look like it's camouflage, just the back has some weird thing going on with the rear bumper there. Not sure what that's about, but cool to see that. And then he also spied some large sedan that he said was wearing old SRT wheels from Chrysler from the 300C SRT8 version, and so that large sedan he thinks is the new Chrysler 300. That is a strong possibility. It could also be this new Charger that we've been hearing about here, that if it's going to be coming here in a year or two, that could very well be what it is. Of course, now that car that he saw has really fake taillights and headlights that I don't think are even going to be close to production. They just use that to fool people, so you can't see the real thing. But cool to see those running around. And then unrelated to the Fiat Chrysler stuff, but he also saw the following day what I believe is the new faster version of the Kia Rio. So we just saw the new 2017 Kia Rio, and keep these images in mind for this spy shot that he got here, and he actually got a little audio of it too. But from the side there you can see it looks like it's definitely the new Kia Rio. But then as you go around to the back, And you hear how it has that nice exhaust sound to it, and it also has the more aggressive exhaust pipes you don't get on a regular Kia Rio. That is definitely looks like it's got to be the Kia Rio, and it's got to have a faster powertrain there to have the good sounds that has. It sounds like a little rally car. So we've been hearing reports of a faster Kia Rio. I think that is almost certainly it. And so who knows when that's going to be coming. But huge thanks once again to him for sending those in. And yeah, it's awesome that he was able to get those on video. Now on to some supercar news and very expensive stuff. Koenigsegg has made yet another special edition. Honestly, I mean, the more Koenigsegg's in the world, the better, but it's just like, why not just actually make normal cars instead of every single car is a one-off special thing? This new one's called the Koenigsegg Agera RSR, and it's basically like the one-to-one for people who couldn't have gotten the one-to-one. They weren't one of the lucky 7 to get one. But this is for only Japan. There's 3 Japanese buyers here for these, and it has the same specs as the one-to-one for the most part. It has the hood scoop, or the roof scoop, I should say, 1,160 horsepower, and they're only making 3 of them. They look cool though, but again, all of us will probably never ever see these things, but cool to see them nonetheless. Other crazy news is Bentley has made their first 200 mile per hour sedan. So, we've had some of their, the Continental GT Speeds and stuff that have been able to go over 200, but the Flying Spur, the W12 model, is only able to go 199 miles per hour, and now it'll do 202, so it officially breaks that 200 mile per hour barrier now. Looks fantastic too. They've blacked out the headlights and taillights there, and the wheels look really great, and so very cool looking. They basically just bumped up the power a little bit. It's the same W12 motor. It goes from 616 horsepower to 626, and torque is now 605 pound-feet, which is 15 more than before. It'll do 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Has retuned suspension and stuff as well. And yeah, I'm sure they're probably gonna be doing a speed version on top of this as well. But it's called the Flying Spur W12S, and great to see that. Another thing was, now we're starting to see more and more cars coming out that are going to be unveiled at Paris here very soon. And so the first is Audi has debuted the A5 and S5 Sportbacks, which I'm still boggled by the idea of this A5 Sportback, because the A4 is what you start with, and then you have the A5 if you want the coupe, and now they're making the A5 Sportback for if you want a sedan version of the coupe, which would lead you back to the A4 in any other train of thought, but according to Audi, that leads you to the A5 Sportback. So apparently it's for those who maybe don't want a wagon version of the A4, or want the front end of the A5, but you want the practicality of the back end of the A4, then you go for this. And that's if you don't want the A7, of course, you go for the A5 instead. The whole thing kind of still confuses me, honestly, but that is what we have here, and looks good. Looks just like the A5 there, and the back end looks very similar to an A4. And so yes, still not sure whether or not they're bringing these A5 Sportbacks. Never come to the States; they're only for Europe. But who knows? Maybe this will make its way to the States. They say they're still considering it. But with BMW bringing over all their millions of variants, I'm sure that there'll be a few who want this niche vehicle here for the States, so will be interesting to see if they bring that here or not. Another thing that's a little more practical, honestly, is Mercedes this past week has unveiled their Vision van, which is pretty futuristic, but honestly, it's not that futuristic. So what we're looking at here is an autonomous van that, will drive itself, and essentially it's supposed to automate the delivery process. So think of FedEx, UPS, stuff like that. Instead of, having a driver do all that, you have an autonomous van that drives to the places, and then to drop off the package, they have drones mounted to the roof, and there's a robotic system for organizing packages in the back, so that whenever it knows, what's coming up next, it knows which package to grab. It grabs the package on the way over there and lifts it up into the roof where it attaches to the drone. The drone then takes off and drops off your package on your doorstep, and maybe even rings your doorbell if it can figure it out, and then flies back, lands back onto the roof of the van, and the van sets off and does its own thing. Now, this concept does have a driver's seat, although I'm not sure why, because of course there is going to be no need for a driver in this scenario if they can actually get it to work properly. I'm sure it'd probably take a few years to work out the bugs, and that's why they have the driver's seat originally, but I'm sure that will go away quickly. So this is just, now they're saying their format for this is they would want to rent these out or do it like an on-demand kind of thing instead of actually selling these to people. I guess they consider that a more lucrative option, and would make sense. You know, if Amazon wants to rent one out, they can just go rent one and it's easier that way. So yes, but I think this is what you're looking at as far as the future of, getting deliveries and stuff. Pretty wild, but pretty awesome that Mercedes has, put this together into an actual working concept. And so, yeah, I'm sure you'll be seeing those very common around here. And, maybe 5, even 10 years, who knows? Crazy, but sign of the times. Some more mundane news is that Jaguar has officially announced that the new 2017 XF will be getting the same diesel turbo engine 2-liter that is available in the XE. Which actually means there's now a new cheaper XF, because this diesel version is the slowest, but also the cheapest one now. So you can get one of these XFs with the diesel for $48,445 here in the States, and it'll get better fuel economy, of course, than the cheapest gas V6 version, but it's a lot slower. So the slowest XF before was the V6 version, which did 5.2 seconds 0 to 60. This diesel does 0 to 60 in 8 seconds. So not exactly a performance vehicle, but it has 317 pound-feet of torque still, so getting around town and everything should be just fine. And it's supposedly pretty smooth and responsive. So pretty interesting to see that, and I'm sure they'll probably sell a good amount of those to those that aren't scared of diesel still. And at Paris, there's, of course, new SUVs coming out because that's all the craze. And so the first is Land Rover has unveiled just one image here so far of their new Discovery, which will be the larger version of the Discovery Sport. And, has, obviously, it's a larger, different looking vehicle than the Discovery Sport. But, I'm sure the Discovery Sport will pick up on some of these new styling cues as well for next year. But we just have the one image here, so we'll have to wait until next week to see, more images of that. Another luxury crossover that was just unveiled with only one image teased here for the Paris Motor Show is Lexus, their new UX crossover, which is, a coupe, crossover that will probably slot above the NX and be a little higher end here, but looks cool from the one image. It's got very aggressive fender flares, and it's very concept-y, of course, because it's a concept car. It'll probably be toned down a little bit for production, but because of how hot crossovers are, this will almost certainly be produced, so expect that in your dealers by next year probably. And so, yeah, it looks good from the one image, but again, we'll have to wait until next week to see more images, hopefully from Paris. And again, back to some more mundane news. Genesis this past week has debuted their pricing for the G90, which used to be the Hyundai Equus, which now is called the Genesis G90 under the new Genesis brand. And so they have raised the price on it with the new name as well. So they used to start out, the Equus used to start out at about $62,500. This new, the base model, twin turbo V6, 365 horsepower, it now starts at $69,000. So quite a jump up from 62.5, and it's still, not a whole lot different. And if you want the V8 version with 420 horsepower, you're paying $70,000, and all-wheel drive adds $2,500 to the price of each. The important thing here is, although it's more expensive, you get a lot more standard equipment that you'd usually have to option on other competitor vehicles. So if you were to put all the same options this has standard heated and ventilated seats, 7.1 surround sound, automatic braking, all that kind of stuff. If you put that on all the competition, you'd be looking at probably something that's $80,000. Except the biggest problem this car is going to have to people that are cross shopping is the Cadillac CT6, which Cadillac again isn't maybe as prestigious as Mercedes to some people, and BMW, but the CT6 I think is a lot higher thought of than a Hyundai is essentially to most other people. And so you can get a CT6 starting at $54,500. Now, of course, that one starts off with a turbo 4-cylinder engine instead of the twin turbo V6, so it's slower than the G90 here. But you load up some options on it and stuff, do a bigger engine and stuff, and then you're at $70,000 in no time, and you have what is arguably a nicer car. I haven't driven a CT6 yet, but I've heard really good things about it, and if it were my choice between the two, I think I'd go for the Cadillac as well. So I think that's going to be the biggest problem that this Genesis has is the Cadillac CT6. Other news here is, again, lots of SUVs and stuff. Ford was spied out testing the new Expedition, and what we're looking at here now, they kind of cleverly camouflaged the back so that you can't see the rake in the rear roof line there. But you can see from the greenhouse and the way that everything is kind of proportioned that this is going to take a lot of cues from the Lincoln Navigator concept that everyone loved recently, that was just debuted not too long ago. And it's going to get, a lot of the same Ford front end you see on stuff like the Explorer and whatnot. And it's going to be a totally new Expedition. It's obviously going to have the same mechanicals as the F-150 most likely, and same platform there for that. But should be actually a really nice looking SUV. And now that large SUVs are in vogue again with cheap gas prices, they're going all steam ahead with a really attractive Expedition here and investing lots of money into that. So great to see that. Also, there was new spy shots that came out this week of the F-150, the 2018 version. That's going to get a restyled front end and back end. And this is exciting. Not only, it's going to get some slight changes. It probably won't be anything earth-shattering since it's just a refresh. But the exciting thing about this is that because we're seeing these and Ford's, actively testing their 2018 models on the streets, chances are we're going to be seeing 2018 Mustang refresh images hopefully here in the next week or two. Fingers crossed. That would be awesome. And there's all kinds of rumors about what's in the pipeline for the new Mustang as well here, the refresh version for 2018. I may do a separate video on that. But anyway, cool to see Ford running around in those. Speaking of Cadillac, they actually have a new thing, just like a lot of these other car companies recently. They've been promoting their free driving schools when you buy their performance vehicles. Cadillac is joining in on the party here, and so owners of the people that are buying the 2017 CTSV and 2017 ATSV get free Performance Academy driving school at Spring Mountain. So, yeah, it's usually, I think these things you have to fly yourself there and you pay for your accommodations, but the classes itself are free. And so pretty awesome that they're offering that. And, they have it a few different places here. You can go also another year at the V Performance Lab, which is run at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. And they also do one at Circuit of the Americas in Texas. So cool to see that. Again, driver education is especially important these days with Mustangs crashing into crowds and all kinds of crazy stuff. Being able to control your performance car is important. I think the companies are understanding that. So they're just like, here, learn how to drive these cars before you go and go crazy with them. So awesome to see that. The last thing is Mercedes was Spied testing their new GLE this past week, which looks like it's going to have a very similar shape to the GLC. This is going to be all new. Looks like it may actually be a little bit smaller as well. But these images may just be a little bit deceiving, but it does look kind of like it's on the small side, and we know we'll probably see a coupe version of this new GLE as well, since those are all the rage these days. So cool to see some shots of that here, and who knows when we'll see the final version, but it doesn't look too far away from production here. So anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys, so I'll send it back to me in the car. Alright, so I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here, like I always do. Here we go. Wheel spin there! Oh, I love this thing! It's so fast that you immediately have to slam on the brakes after you do something like that. But it's just such a ride. I absolutely love this thing. And whenever you have room, you don't have to worry about traffic, and you have the space to unleash the power, it's so much fun. Such a good car. Even just the standard GT is really, really fun still. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Take care.